From broken bones to broken records, these are the warriors who risked everything. 50 more Kung Fu legends, then and now. Part 2. Hwang Jang-Lee, 81 years old. The Silver Fox, Thunderleg, the Korean superkicker who fought Jackie Chan in 2 legendary films. Drunken Master and Snake in the Eagle's Shadow launched Jackie's career, but Hwang nearly stole both movies with his impossible kicks. 9th-degree black belt in Taekwondo and Tang Soo Do. During the Vietnam War, he killed a soldier in self-defense with a single kick to the temple. Flying triple kicks that defied gravity. Multiple leg injuries, joint problems from decades of extreme kicking. At 81, the king of the superkickers can barely walk, but his legacy as Kung Fu's greatest villain lives forever. Yayan Ruhian, 54 years old. Mad Dog from The Raid, that kitchen fight scene, one of the greatest and most brutal in cinema history. Indonesian pencak silat master who made traditional martial arts terrifying again. Broken ribs, hand fractures, facial injuries making those fights look devastatingly real. The Raid revolutionized action cinema in 2011. Yayan even appeared in Star Wars: The Force Awakens. At 54, worth $2 million. Mad Dog proved Indonesian martial arts could compete with anyone. Cheng Pei-Pei, 78 years old. The original Kung Fu Queen. In 1966, Come Drink With Me made her the first female martial arts superstar, before Angela Mao, before Michelle Yeoh, before anyone. Former ballet dancer who became a warrior goddess. Shoulder injuries from sword work, back problems from wire work throughout the 60s and 70s. She retired in the 80s. Then in 2000, Ang Lee brought her back for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon as the treacherous Jade Fox. The Oscar-winning film introduced her to a new generation. At 78, worth $5 million. She paved the way for every female action star who followed. Yuen Wah, 73 years old. Jackie Chan's Peking Opera School brother from The 7 Little Fortunes. Bruce Lee's stunt double in Fist of Fury. Eastern Condors showcased his incredible acrobatics. Multiple broken bones, chronic back problems from decades of high falls. Became famous again as the landlord in Kung Fu Hustle. At 73, worth $5 million. One of the last living Peking opera legends, Benny Urquidez, 73 years old. Benny the Jet Urquidez, 63 wins, 0 losses, undefeated kickboxing champion. His fight with Jackie Chan in Wheels on Meals is legendary, one of the greatest fight scenes ever filmed. Multiple hand fractures, facial injuries from real combat. Benny was the real deal before UFC existed. At 73, still teaching martial arts in Los Angeles, passing on knowledge from an undefeated career. A true living legend. Dolph Lundgren, 68 years old. The Swedish destroyer with a 160 IQ. Chemical engineering degree from MIT, but chose to fight instead. 4th-degree black belt in Kyokushin Karate, European champion. In Rocky IV, Stallone asked Dolph to hit him for real. That punch put Stallone in intensive care for 4 days with heart swelling. Showdown in Little Tokyo, The Expendables, multiple fractures from decades of full-contact karate. Dolph Lundgren battled renal cell carcinoma, kidney cancer, for years after a 2015 diagnosis, facing recurrence with tumors in his liver and kidneys by 2020. But through targeted therapy and a second opinion, he significantly shrank the tumors and announced in late 2024 that he was finally cancer-free after removing the last remaining tumor. At 68, worth $18 million, proof you can have brains and brawn and recover from cancer. Kar-leung, 64 years old. Shaw Brothers' greatest female martial artist. My young auntie won her first Best Actress award in 1982, the first of 3. Mad Monkey Kung Fu, Clan of the White Lotus. Shoulder injuries from acrobatics, back strain from wire work. At 64, still acting in Hong Kong films. A celebrated actress who helped define female Kung Fu cinema. Aaron Kwok, 60 years old. One of Hong Kong's 4 heavenly kings. Cantopop superstar who became an action star. China Strike Force, Cold War series. Wire work injuries from his action films combined with decades of intense dance performances. Back strain from the double demand of singing and stunts. At 60, worth $20 million. Won multiple acting awards proving he's more than just a pretty face. David Bell, 51 years old. The man who invented parkour. District 13 brought free running to cinema in 2004 and changed action movies forever. Decades of leaping between buildings left multiple ankle sprains, wrist fractures, knee problems. That's what happens when you invent a new way to move through urban environments. At 51, worth $2 million, changed how we think about movement in action films. Gary Daniels, 62 years old. British kickboxer who dominated 90s action, Fist of the North Star, Ring of Fire. Real martial artist who did his own stunts. Multiple broken ribs, shoulder dislocations from demanding fight choreography. Joined the Expendables franchise. At 62, still working. Proof UK fighters can hang with anyone. Lauren Avedon, 62 years old. No Retreat, No Surrender sequels, king of the kickboxers. Real Taekwondo champion who brought authentic kicks to B-movies. Ankle injuries from high kicks, broken ribs from fight scenes. Never became a major star but delivered solid martial arts action throughout the 90s. At 62, a cult favorite among kung fu fans. Keith Vitale, 74 years old. Karate champion turned actor. Revenge of the Ninja with Sho Kosugi. Fought Jackie Chan in Wheels on Meals. Real tournament fighter who brought authentic technique. Hand injuries from board-breaking competitions. Joint problems from decades of competition. At 74, remembered by true kung fu fans. Billy Chong, 68 years old. Indonesian kung fu star from the golden era. Crystal Fist, Kung Fu Zombie. Amazing acrobatic skills that audiences loved. Multiple leg injuries from demanding choreography led to early retirement. Back problems forced him away from action. At 68, lives quietly. A forgotten star from Kung Fu's golden age. Wilson Tong, 85 years old. Shaw Brothers veteran from the golden age of Kung Fu cinema. Cuts from extensive sword work, joint problems from decades of choreography. At 85, one of the oldest living Kung Fu stars. A direct link to cinema's martial arts origins. Frankie Chang, 73 years old. Jackie Chan's stunt team legend and right-hand man. Multiple broken bones working alongside Jackie on Police Story, Armor of God. Back injuries from high falls and death-defying stunts. Became action choreographer and film composer. At 73, worth $3 million. Helped create Jackie's greatest action sequences. Ken Lo, 68 years old. The villain in Drunken Master 2's legendary final fight. Jackie Chan's real-life bodyguard who became an actor. That fight scene under the train, one of cinema's greatest, left Ken with facial injuries and countless bruises. At 68, remembered forever for that one perfect fight. John Liu, 81 years old. Could do 540-degree kicks in the 1970s, decades before it became standard. Secret Rivals showcased impossible flexibility and speed. Then in 1981, a drug conviction in Taiwan destroyed his career. He never recovered professionally. Leg problems from those extreme kicks plague him still. At 81, a what-if story. What could have been if life hadn't intervened. Vincent Zhao, 53 years old. Replaced Jet Li in Once Upon a Time in China 4 and 5. Impossibly big shoes to fill. Wirework injuries, back strain trying to match Jet Li's physicality. Shoulder problems from demanding choreography. At 53, successful in Chinese television, worth $10 million. Richard Norton, 75 years old. Australian martial arts pioneer, 5th degree black belt in multiple styles. Jim Kata, China O'Brien with Cynthia Rothrock, The Octagon with Chuck Norris. Multiple knee surgeries, shoulder dislocations from decades of stunts. Became a respected stunt coordinator in Hollywood. At 75, worth $3 million. Helped bring Australian martial artists to the screen. Angela Mao, 75 years old. The original female kung fu star alongside Cheng Pei-Pei. Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee, Hapkido showcased her incredible skills. Joint problems from intense Hapkido training led to early retirement in the 1980s. Lives quietly in New York. At 75, paved the way for every female action star who followed. Carter Wong, 79 years old. Shaw Brothers veteran who crossed to Hollywood. Big Trouble in Little Tokyo brought him to Western audiences. Back problems from high falls, joint wear from decades of work. At 79, still occasionally acts. A bridge between Hong Kong and Hollywood Kung Fu. Casanova Wong, 80 years old. The fastest kicker in Kung Fu cinema history, his leg speed in The Magnificent Butcher seems physically impossible. That extreme flexibility came with a heavy price. Severe leg problems, hip issues from decades of extreme kicks. At 80, those legendary legs have paid a devastating toll. Philip Kwok, 76 years old. The lizard from Five Venoms, Venom mob legend whose acrobatic style thrilled audiences. Chronic back problems and joint wear from Shaw Brothers' demanding choreography. Lives in California now, far from the studios where he made his name. At 76, a cult hero to Kung Fu purists. Corey Yuen. Died in 2022 at 71. Seven Little Fortunes brother who became one of cinema's greatest action choreographers. The Transporter, X-Men, Romeo Must Die. He brought Hong Kong wire work to Hollywood blockbusters. Various injuries from demonstrating stunts to actors over decades. Died July 2022. His choreography redefined Western action cinema. Louis Koo, 54 years old. Hong Kong superstar who appeared in everything. Young and Dangerous series, Election, SPL. Wirework injuries and back strain from non-stop filming. Sometimes multiple movies at once. At 54, worth $50 million. One of Hong Kong's most prolific and beloved stars. Nicholas Tse, 45 years old. Teen idol turned action star. Gen X Cops, new police story with Jackie Chan. In 2002, broke his leg in a car stunt accident. Wirework injuries throughout his action career. At 45, worth $60 million. Now as famous for cooking as for action. Multi-talented Hong Kong icon, Eddie Peng, 42 years old. New generation Hong Kong action star known for extreme physical transformations. Unbeatable, Operation Mekong, The Great Wall. Various training injuries from his method actor approach to roles. At 42, worth $20 million. Carrying the torch for modern Hong Kong action cinema. Tony Leung, 63 years old. Hard-boiled hero, then Marvel's Shang-Chi as the Mandarin. More dramatic actor than pure martial artist, but his wire work in Hero was breathtaking. Minimal injuries compared to action specialists. At 63, worth $20 million. Proved Hong Kong actors can conquer Marvel. Zhang Ziyi, 46 years old. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon made her a global star at 21. Hero, House of Flying Daggers followed. Wirework injuries from those beautiful aerial scenes. Minor sprains throughout her career. At 46, worth $100 million. One of China's biggest international stars. Yukari Oshima, 59 years old. Japanese martial artist who became a Hong Kong action star in the 80s and 90s. Angel series, Easy Money, Blonde Fury. Performed her own stunts, multiple broken bones, wirework injuries, chronic back problems from the physical demands. At 59, worth $2 million, one of the toughest female action stars of her generation. Moon Lee, 58 years old. Hong Kong's female action queen of the 80s and 90s. Angel series with Yukari Oshima, bullet in the head, broken ribs from stunts, facial injuries, wirework accidents. Did her own fighting and never backed down from dangerous scenes. At 58, worth $3 million, proved women could be just as tough as men in action cinema. Philip Ree, 65 years old. Best of the best made Taekwondo tournament cinematic. Real U.S. national champion with a 6th degree black belt. Multiple rib fractures from actual tournament fighting before acting. Knee surgeries from decades of high kicks. Directed and starred in 4 best of the best films. At 65, worth $5 million. Brought authentic Taekwondo to Hollywood. Olivier Gruner, 64 years old. French kickboxing champion who dominated 90s direct-to-video action. Nemesis, automatic. Full contact karate background meant real power in his kicks. Multiple leg injuries, shoulder problems from years of striking. Never became a major star, but had a solid action career. 54, a European martial arts export. Al Leong, 76 years old. The most recognizable henchman in action cinema, that iconic mustache. Die Hard, Lethal Weapon, Big Trouble in Little China, professional stuntman in over 100 films, countless stunt-related injuries over decades. At 76, his face is more famous than his name, an icon of 80s action. Roger Yuan, 61 years old. Shanghai Noon with Jackie Chan, Bulletproof Monk. Various stunt-related injuries from consistent work. At 61, still active in Hollywood as both actor and martial arts choreographer, working steadily in the industry for decades. Robin Shou, 65 years old. Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 1995. Made video game fighting real on-screen. Broken ribs from fight choreography, back injuries from stunts, Death Race and other action films followed. At 65, worth $3 million. Forever Liu Kang to Mortal Kombat fans worldwide. James Hong, 96 years old. Big Trouble in Little China's Lo Pan. 650 film and TV credits, over 70 years of work. More character actor than martial artist, so minimal injuries compared to action specialists. In 2023, at age 94, won a SAG award for Everything Everywhere All at Once. At 96, still working, the oldest active actor in Hollywood. An absolute living legend. Max Zhang Jin, 51 years old. The villain who fought Donnie Yen in Ip Man 3. That fight was epic. Wushu champion background gave him authentic technique. Broken fingers from Wing Chun choreography. Shoulder injuries from intense action. At 51, carrying on Hong Kong action traditions with modern intensity. Colin Chow, 58 years old. Seraph in The Matrix Reloaded. That fight with Keanu Reeves showcased his skills. Wirework injuries throughout filming. Hand injuries from fight choreography. Flashpoint with Donnie Yen. At 58, Taekwondo expert who bridged Hong Kong and Hollywood. Louis Tan, 38 years old. New generation British-Chinese star. Into the Badlands. Mortal Kombat 2021 reboot as Kar-leung. Various training injuries from intense fight preparation for each role. Bullet Train with Brad Pitt. At 38, the future of martial arts action cinema. Joe Taslim, 44 years old. Indonesian judo champion turned actor. The Raid made him a star alongside Iko Uwais. Broken ribs from that brutal action. Facial injuries from realistic fighting. Mortal Kombat's Sub-Zero. At 44, worth $3 million. Bringing Indonesian martial arts to global blockbusters. Jeff Wincott, 68 years old. Canadian martial artist who delivered solid 90s action. Mission of Justice, martial law TV series, knee injuries from demanding fight scenes, back problems from years of stunts. Never became a major star, but gave reliable martial arts performances. At 68, a journeyman who gave everything to the craft. Michael Dudikoff, 70 years old. American Ninja made ninjas an 80s phenomenon in the West. Stunt-related injuries from ninja acrobatics, back strain from 5 films in the franchise. At 70, the American who made ninja movies mainstream outside of Asia. Fung Hak On. Died 2016 at 72. Shaw Brothers' ultimate villain, from the Chinese boxer to executioners from Shaolin to Jackie Chan's police story. Menacing presence, powerful technique, decades of injuries from fight choreography. Died March 2016. Kung fu enthusiasts knew him as the greatest villain who ever lived. Underrated but unforgettable. Ching Siu-tung, 72 years old. Not just an actor, but the action director who revolutionized wirework. Chinese Ghost Story, Hero, House of Flying Daggers, demonstrating stunts for actors led to his own injuries over decades. At 72, still directing, still innovating, a true behind-the-scenes legend. Danny Lee, 73 years old. John Woo's collaborator in The Killer and City on Fire. More gunplay than pure kung fu, but his action sequences were legendary. Various film injuries from stunts. Became successful producer and director. At 73, worth $10 million. Shaped Hong Kong action cinema behind and in front of the camera. Jeff Speakman, 68 years old. The Perfect Weapon showcased Kenpo karate like never before. 6th degree black belt from Ed Parker's lineage. Joint problems from Kenpo's rapid striking combinations. Back strain from decades of training. Never reached superstar status but brought authentic Kenpo to cinema. At 68, a martial arts purist. Philip Ko, 76 years old. Shaw Brothers actor and choreographer who worked both sides of the camera. Injuries from demonstrating fight choreography to younger actors, plus his own on-screen villain roles. At 76, still working in the Hong Kong film industry. One of the unsung heroes who made kung fu cinema look spectacular. Lo Li. Lo Li died 2002 at 63, the first kung fu superstar before Bruce Lee. In 1972, Five Fingers of Death became the first martial arts film to break through in America. Warner Brothers saw the box office numbers and realized kung fu could work in the West. That's what led them to Bruce Lee for Enter the Dragon. But Lo Li started it all. Shaw Brothers legend who appeared in over 100 films, famous for playing villains with that white hair and evil master look. The original Pai Mei in Executioners from Shaolin. Heart attack in November 2002 at just 63. Without Lo Li's success, there might not have been a Bruce Lee Hollywood career, the unsung hero who launched the kung fu craze. Kar-leung. Kar-leung died 2013 at 78. Shaw Brothers legend who worked both sides of the camera. Not just an actor, but the greatest choreographer who ever lived. The 36th Chamber of Shaolin, a masterpiece that influenced everyone from Wu-Tang Clan to Quentin Tarantino. Heroes of the East, legendary weapons of China. He didn't just choreograph fights, he taught authentic kung fu on screen. Injuries from decades of demonstrating techniques to younger actors. Directed over 30 films, died June 2013. His influence on martial arts cinema cannot be overstated. A true grandmaster. 50 more legends. From the Silver Fox to Mad Dog. From Lady Kung Fu to the Grandmaster, they sacrificed everything for our entertainment. This is Kung Fu Cinema. Watch Part 1 for 50 more. 100 Warriors, 100 Legacies. Subscribe.